Good afternoon, everybody. Today is the 25th of February 2018, and I'm coming to you live from inside the green truck. I figured this would be a cool backdrop. It's actually kind of decent temperature outside, so I rolled the cover off a little bit, and just enough for me to squeeze my fat butt in here and soak it all in. So I figure what I'll do is I'll start with some updates on what I got done last night. I gotta apologize in advance. I'm really tired right now. Big day yesterday, and I had to jump right up and start running around early today, so just a little tired. I'll try and remember everything. So last night over at my buddy's shop on the red truck, the suspension is all done on the front. Suspension's done. Everything's tightened. The only thing left that I have to do is grease the suspension and grease the steering. I somehow ran out of grease. Stupid. So the grease gun was empty, so I couldn't fill any of these things up. So I got to go and get more grease. Then I can declare that whole thing absolutely 100% done. I put the brake calipers on. So this has all of Green Truck's old stuff on it now. It's got Green's calipers, Green's rotors, Green's pads. So everything that was originally on this truck for the first autocrosses that I was doing is now on that truck, because everything was still in really good shape. I never drove this in winter. I never, barely even drove this in rain, because the sunroof leaks a lot if it's outside in the rain a lot, so I keep it inside because it's kind of annoying. It'll just pour right out right here into my lap, and then I look like I had an accident, and so try to avoid that look. So yeah, that truck's got all of Green's old brake parts on it, so I suspect that that's got to help. Let's see, I checked. I had to fiddle around with the torsion bars a little bit because not everything was solid in there, so I had to adjust some things on that. I got the truck off the jack stands, kind of set the ride height a little high. I'm going to wait until I get the actual front tires on it before I set the ride height where I want it, because the tires are bigger than the ones that are on it right now, so I don't want to drop it too much and then have to lift it back up. I'd rather bring it down to that level and then have it right for the 215s. That's done. I tried drilling out that distributor. Yeah, that did not work out, or I got a bad cap or something, but the rotor was going around and actually hitting one of the lugs on the inside of the distributor. So the truck was running. I actually had it running last night, but the rotor would come around and it would hit one of the posts inside. I don't know if I just didn't drill it exactly center where it was supposed to be, so now the cap's off like a hair, and because it's such a close tolerance that the rotor is actually now hitting that lug. But it wore away enough of that lug in a short period of time that I decided that I'm just going to go ahead and replace this distributor, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get the holes lined up properly. I'll try one more time because I got nothing to lose, but I mean, if that doesn't work out, I want to have a distributor to just slap in there and lock down and fire it up. It ran really good. Check the plugs, those were okay. It ran much better, even though it was hitting one of the lugs. It actually ran better than when I drove it there, so I was pleased about that. So that is what I got done there. Oh, and the Lund visor. I finally got around to putting on the Lund visor. It's not all the way on there. It's held on by two self-tapper screws right now. So I did actually drill it into the hood, or into the roof. Boy, was that a decision to be made, but it's absolutely worth it, because as soon as we took our hands off of it and I stepped back and I looked at it with that visor on it, I was like, "Whoa, holy shit, that looks really freaking amazing!" So definitely a wise choice to put that on there. So now I'm just going to get all the hardware and put it on correctly, and do well nuts. I'm going to do rubber well nuts with stainless hardware. But the nice part about the visor, this is the best part. This visor has a story. So if you guys don't mind me telling you a story, allow me to tell you. I bought that visor off of a guy on Craigslist back in 2009. I met him at a place in the city, and I paid him, and then I took the visor home, I put it in the garage, and there it sat. So forward to 2011, right, the night that I hit the deer with this truck right here, the night that I hit the deer with this truck, a friend of mine that I worked with came over, and this is the same guy who has the garage that I'm keeping the red truck in and the rallycross truck in. So him and I are really good friends, and we hang out all the time and stuff. And he came over to help me kind of undo some of the damage that was done to this truck that night. And it's the first time he had ever been over to my shop, and I was just getting to know him because I had just started working at this other shop. So I met him, and everything was still fresh and new. So he came over, and while he was over, he looked at and saw the visor sitting in the corner of the garage, and he goes, "I used to have one like that." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Well, I bought that off a guy up in the city up here, and I met him at such and such a place, and I paid him." And he goes, "That's funny. I sold one of those at that exact same place to a guy." And I'm like, "I bought it from you." So yeah, I found out that I knew this kid and had already done business with this kid long before he became my friend. So I thought that was really, really funny. So now Red Truck's over at his house. I brought the visor over, and he was the one who's like, "This thing's got to go on this truck, man." So he held it in place while I shot the self-tappers through the roof just to hold it there. And the best part is that the visor is almost the exact same color as that truck, and it's got almost as much patina as that truck. So it looks like it's been on that truck since like the 80s. It's got stone chips, the paint is faded, it's just as faded as the rest of the truck, so it doesn't look like it's something new in a sea of old, sheet metal and everything, old rusty sheet metal. So I was like, it was supposed to have that all along. And just the look that it has with the roll bar and the off-road lights in the back, I can't wait to see this thing in the sunlight, just parked out there with the aluminum wheels that I'm finishing up, restoring here. So yeah, that was like a big exciting evening for me. So it ran. I got to see it on the ground. I got to tighten all the hardware and everything. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. It all just came together in one shot. So I'm like really feeling inspired for this project. Plus, I am really trying to get it ready so I can drive it to the Dropped and Destroyed show in Ohio in May. My buddy's brother lives right there in Mansfield, and all I have to do is bring some Zweigel hot dogs, and I guess I get a night's stay there. So I'm going to drive this out there, the red truck, not this green truck, and drive that out there, hopefully. I'm saying hopefully because we still got plenty of room for stuff to go wrong, but I'm at least set that date for myself to do this. The Dropped and Destroyed show, Dropped and Destroyed 15, I think it is. May 25th, I think, is the day of the show. It's a Saturday, I think. So I'm going to drive up there. I'm not going to show that truck. There's no way I'm going to park my truck with all those nice trucks. There's no way I could do it. It would just be that would be ridiculous. So I'm not going to even try. I'm just going to park it in the parking lot. I'm going to throw a whole bunch of I don't know if you guys have seen these, but let me show you one. Let's see here. Do I have one on me? Hopefully I do. Shame on me if I don't. Shame on me. Do I have any in the truck here? Oh. Damn it. All right, well, I don't have any. I'm sorry. I should have even grabbed some, but I have some Nismo D21 business cards. So I'm just going to line the windshield with the Nismo D21 business cards so people can just take them if they want. And, they can watch any of the videos right there if they feel so inclined. And then I think that'll be cool. I'm just going to wander around and take pictures of the trucks there if, and then kind of like, you know, maybe do a live feed or something. Who knows? I don't know. I think I'm really trying to just enjoy moments without having to like capture everything on video again. So that's why there's no video from last night. I didn't film anything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link in the description as soon as I'm done editing all this. I'm going to post a link in the description to the build of that truck that I have going on Infamous Nissan, because it's got all the most recent pictures of everything with it on the ground, a picture of the suspension with the, you know, loaded up sitting on the ground and everything. So and then some of my thoughts. So I'll just post the link to that. You can see all that stuff. I just didn't feel like stopping every minute to move the camera in a different position. Plus, all I was doing was tightening nuts and bolts anyway, so that's not very exciting shit. Yeah, so I'm done with that. I got to get a distributor, visor. So yeah, busy night last night. All right, so as a treat, I wanted to do something for you guys, because we did, even though we didn't make the partnership cut, I figured we did make the 1,000 subscribers, which is way more than, you know, than I really ever expected that I would get. And I didn't even think for a moment that I was going to even be able to pass that mark when I first saw the requirements that YouTube was firing on me. I was like, oh, there's no way, I'm never going to make it. So the fact that I made 1,000 because of you guys, that's just too cool. So awesome. I just want to thank you. And so I know it's not the most modified, you know, lowered and slammed truck out there or whatever, but I do have a lot of pictures of this thing on the internet. So I figured I will do a quick live walk around of the green truck here. And if you guys have any questions while I'm filming something, or you want me to film something, just write it in the you know, just type it in real quick, and I'll get to it as soon as I get to that part of the truck or whatnot. So I think I'm going to start in the cab here and just do a quick glance through, and then I'll pop out of the truck and I'll just show you a couple cool things. It doesn't run. I have the battery all disconnected. Everything's still in storage mode. And please excuse the dryer sheets that are in here. And about dryer sheets, I'm going to tell you right now, useless. Don't even bother. I had dryer sheets underneath the intake or the air filter on the Chevy, and they went in that truck and shit and pissed and set up shop in there. So, and right on the dryer sheets. So it means that they don't, you know, they don't work. So, all right, enough of me jabbering. I'm gonna flip this camera around and we'll show you where I'm at right now. So, flip this thing. There we go. Is that good? It's a rotate device. All right, hopefully that works. All right. I forgot to unlock the thing. Well, anyways, sorry about that. Here we are. This is the view from the driver's seat. And I'll explain a couple things here in a second, just because I've had some comments in the past. All right, so right here in the center stack, I've got a vacuum gauge and I got the volt gauge. I'll explain the vacuum gauge. It is kind of ricey. The only reason I have it is because all the other gauges are pretty boring, so I wanted just something that bounced around a little bit that kind of made me feel like I was an important person. That's basically it. But you know what? This gauge has helped me diagnose a couple problems that this engine has had, because if this thing starts acting up, or you notice you have low vacuum or something like that, or this gauge is bouncing around a lot, it's telling you something. So it is an important gauge in a way. It's just not a gauge that you need to have every day. But I just, I thought, well, for the price, I'll stuff it in there. That'll be fun and everything. So, and then I got the volt gauge. Technically what should be right here should be oil temperature, and this should be, coolant temperature.
if I wanted to do this like correctly, but I was doing it on the cheap, and so volt gauge and vacuum. So the two V's are down here. This green switch controls the light bar up front. This controls the auxiliary fan that I have on board for if I'm sitting on. I was having a heat up problem when I was sitting on grid at a couple of the autocrosses. I don't really have that problem because just driving on the street, because you know that's no big deal. But this is one of those, if I did get back into autocrossing a lot, it's nice to have this. So this controls a little 13-inch auxiliary fan that's sitting in front of the radiator there. It's a pusher fan, so it's helping because the main fan is a puller fan. So I put a pusher in front of it, so that kind of moves a lot more air. And then the oil pressure gauge, and this is the gauge that's been giving me all kinds of headaches this last season, because I've been reading wacky oil pressures and getting strange noises from this thing. So not from the gauge, from the engine itself. So this is like my paranoia gauge. Since I've put it in this truck, I've done nothing but lose hair and lose sleep. And then just realized that this engine might be a little on the tired side. So yeah, swinging around here. I bought these Pathfinder seats off of a guy on Craigslist. They're like next to mint. The guy was like, wanted like the best ones he could ever find, and he bought this set, and then he found a set that was even nicer, so he sold this set to me for dirt cheap, and they're comfortable. They're very plush, and they look nice. And then of course, for the junkyard theme that I always go for, the carpet, the Frontier console, which is a little dirty right now, and the finisher trim that, you know, you got to have if you do the carpet, or even if you do just bucket seats, you should have the finisher trim. So that's pretty much the inside. There's really not much going on. It does have an aftermarket moonroof here, which is kind of neat for a single cab. It does work if I really clean up this motor, but it leaks. So the motor's all rusted up inside. So, and since it leaks, I just kind of sealed it in permanently. So it's just more like a just a piece of glass. But yeah, if I could do it again, someone should never put a sunroof like that in one of these things. All right. So here we are, the outside. Obviously, Captain Obvious. Yeah, ignore this. These don't work. Stupid. But I'll tell you what, mice will get into your heater through this, through the driver's side window wiper. They can get right into this hole, go down the cowl, and end up in your heater box. So yeah, I just put those there. I haven't seen any in there since, but you know, I don't want to say that the dryer sheets are the reason. Obviously, you guys have seen it's been swapped to the Pathfinder front end. It's got the 86 hood on it that I replaced after the deer hit. This was painted by, sorry about the flashing light, that bulb is gone south. This whole front from the doors forward was painted by my buddy over at Ryder Restorations in East Rochester. He's the guy that built the black rallycross truck after he got done working on this truck. He wanted to have one of his own, so he went and bought a four-wheel and made it ridiculous. And that's the same buddy who bought the red truck originally to be his first rallycross truck. He ended up selling me the red truck, and he went out and bought the black truck. So just crazy, you know, it's the material continuum. So he painted the hood, painted the doors. The roof has not been painted, and everything else from the doors back is all original paint. So I didn't take the cover off of everything just because there's a lot of garbage on the floor here, so I didn't want to make too much work for myself. But I figured most of the exciting parts are in the front anyways. After the deer hit, the only way I would drive this thing at night is if I had this on. So
I do turn it off for oncoming traffic. I'm not one of those bro shits or whatever, but okay. So let's see if I can get you guys an underneath shot here. I turned 42 this week, and I feel every minute of it. All right. Okay, so here we are. Underneath. I don't remember this thing being this low. I can't even fit the phone underneath it. All right, those are sway away torsion bars. Turn the light here. Sway away torsion bars going up to the poly bushings. I did the poly bushings back in 2011. And then there's KYB Monomax shocks. It's got the energy suspension, sway bar links. I didn't do anything fancy with the sway bar up here. Those are custom made stainless braided brake hoses. I painted everything, and that's a KYB Monomax shock there. So this thing is pretty good. Oh, and it's also got those Daystar poly progressive bump stops. I just like those. I don't know if I've even used it, but I just like the idea that it's there, and just in case, because what it's supposed to do, and I'm pretty sure I have used them because with autocross and everything. But the harder you turn into it, the firmer it gets. So just light bumps, it's pretty soft response. But the harder you go, the more it pushes back. So it's actually kind of cool because the OEM ones are just like a solid piece of rubber. There's probably, there's definitely a lot less give on those. So that's part of the reason why riding on your bump stops feels like garbage to you, because they don't have any give. That's also something I did on the rear. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get in here and show you. I'm going to try, though. Oh, the joys of live. At least this is exciting. Okay. I go under here. Get the light under here. Okay, that's also a Daystar. That's a Daystar progressive bump stop for the rear axles. So if I do bottom out onto this bump, this bump stop, it does the exact same thing. It will get firmer the further I go. So I didn't want to run without bump stops, but I didn't want to keep the original ones either because they're like completely solid, no give. So these are a nice alternative, and the nice part about it, they bolt right in. I didn't have to drill anything. They just went right in there using the existing bolt holes because they're slotted, so you can adjust them whatever way you want. So that was a nice little addition. You can see how clean the frame is on this baby. I mean, it's got a little bit of grime on it, but yeah, there's no rust on that. Florida truck. All right, cool. Yeah, there's another shot of that sunroof. Damn shame. That's the only thing that I don't like about this truck. But it's a neat one. I've run it. It's one of those pop-up ones, so it comes up and then it slides back out to here. So it actually looks kind of cool because it looks like I got a wing of some kind. But yeah, if I open it, I'll probably never be able to get it closed up enough to be sealed. All right, so anybody got any questions about anything that you've seen? Anything that I'm doing? That's cool. Yeah, the future plan for this thing is, I don't know. I'm going to run it for a little bit this year. It started making a hell of a racket just before I put it away. And it sounded like a Subaru boxer engine. It definitely was missing a cylinder. But then it came back. So it's really weird because last year I did the rocker arms. I replaced the oil pump on a couple occasions. And I was still dealing with really erratic oil pressure and various noises coming out from underneath the hood. So I'm at the point now where I have to decide what I really ultimately want to do, because this VG swap is definitely something that's sooner rather than later. So I'm really kind of under the gun to do this. Or do I rebuild this KA and just leave this truck the way it is and then just continue making the red truck ridiculous? That's kind of where my brain is stuck, is that I would love to have this thing be healthy again and a little fun. Because I was thinking VG 33ER with 300ZX camshafts and the 5-speed transmission that I have. And this truck would definitely be an amazing candidate for that thing. But I'm thinking that the ridiculousness of that has to be reserved for the red truck. But then again, I keep going back and forth on this because I don't want to waste the engine on something or find out that this engine was completely and totally rebuildable and that I just needed to diagnose it a little further. That's kind of what I'm afraid of. So I might wait, drive it and see if it blows up, or I might try replacing the injectors. I may be having an injector problem too. That's something else that I've thought about, is that I know that the number one injector has been making noise. It makes a loud ticking noise compared to the other ones. So I've always known that number one injector is pretty bad. I know that if it went down to 3 cylinders and sounded like a Subaru Boxer engine, that it's possible that injector has finally taken a dump. But the lack of oil pressure, even while it was running, it went down to like 20 psi on the gauge at 3,000 RPM. So I'm driving down the road trying to just get it back to the house. I'm like, if it blows up, fine, whatever. We'll use a contingency plan of some kind. But if it doesn't blow up, I don't want to leave it on the side of the road waiting for a tow truck. So I took the chance. I figured the worst that can happen is it's already gone. But then I fired it up like maybe a week later to move it, and I took a couple pictures of it while I had it out. And I was sitting here at 75 psi, and I took it out on the road and I kind of flogged it a little bit, and it just stayed 50 psi and higher. It didn't drop down as much, and I didn't hear any strange noises anymore. It was running fine. I'm like, well, what's going on here? Is this thing got a gremlin in it or something, or is there something actually going bad? I mean, my two thoughts are the injector is definitely causing some drivability, but am I having a problem with, like, say, a gasket on the oil pickup tube? Am I, is this thing starting to suck a little air and push air throughout the whole cylinder head? Or the final choice is this cylinder head just cooked and all I got to do is do a head? Because in here, inside this cabinet, is some parts, and sitting right here is a 240SX cylinder head that I grabbed off of a 89 from the junkyard, and I got it complete with the cam. And down here I also have the 240SX intake manifold set up, which I don't know if I'm ever going to get around to doing. But I hold on to it because they're hard to find and they're expensive. So, choices. And then I've got the VG
E13 scenario going on here. Let's go for a walk. I might as well go entertain you guys for a full half hour here. Alright, we're going to go outside here real quick. Okay, so here's VG engine number 3. This is the VG30. This one's got a bad head gasket. This is in the 92. This is a future project. I would love to put the turbines that I have on it with some nice meats, and just make this a nice daily truck to drive. That would be pretty sweet. And then right here we've got well, this thing's pretty roached bad. This thing has got a VG33 swapped onto it. This is a 91, so I can't really argue. All the hard work's been done. All I got to do is grab the harness, grab the engine, grab the computer, and pretty much I could plug this into the red truck pretty easily, because that's a 91 as well. The reason I would do that is because it is easy. I was kind of scared about doing it to the green truck because there's a lot more wiring involved in the green truck, with it being a California spec, and it's right on the edge of being an OBD2 truck. It's not OBD2, but I'm afraid of all the extra wiring that I'm going to run into as a result. So, and then I got that 300ZX motor still, and I have the truck motor, the one that came out of my 86 parts truck. So I've got a lot of motors floating around here right now that need to turn into less numbers of motors. So if I can take 4 and make 2, that'd be awesome. Or if I take 3 and make 1, that would be pretty awesome too. So let me flip this camera around. All right, so in closing, yeah, that's where everything's at. I don't know if you guys, whoever's following the channel for the trucks, that's cool. Whoever's following the channel for what I'm doing just as a car guy, I mean, it's kind of like a little bit of both here. Either way, I hope you're enjoying it. I'm going to leave it here because I got some things I got to do. Plus, it's cold and I'm still really tired. So, yeah, just leave some comments. Enjoy. You guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and take care now.